Me versus the Wolfman with some help from a ghost. A true story. There was a time, more than a quarter century ago, when a person could leave their home at 5 a.m. in order to catch a 6 a.m. flight. This story takes place during that time. My company was involved in a big deal, and my wife and I had to go to Midland for a meeting. Midland was where the assets we were purchasing were located, so trips like this were common. Like I said back then, you could leave your townhouse in Clear Lake at 5 a.m., drive to Hobby and park, check your bags, and easily make a 6 a.m. Southwest flight. So on that fateful morning, I set the home alarm, grabbed our luggage, which included a hanging dress bag, which was the style at the time, and at 5 a.m., walked outside to our all-black Suburban. Holding that hanging dress bag by the hangers with one hand, I hit the remote to unlock the doors with the other hand. As I reached the driver's side door, I noticed that the console was open and there were items from it resting on the passenger's front seat. Wow, I thought, how did my wife get into Suburban so fast? And why did she take stuff out of the console? What happened next was the Wolfman burst out of the door right behind the driver's door. In other words, the Wolfman jumped out of my Suburban straight at me. The Wolfman shouted, "Ah!" I shouted something similar while quickly realizing that while I did have a gun in the townhouse, I did not have any silver bullets. The only weapon I had was the hanging dress bag, which was still suspended by my fingers dangling 4 feet down, but not touching the ground. Not much of a weapon, but fortunately it didn't matter. The Wolfman leapt past me and started running down the street. Well, plodding would be a better description. You probably walk faster trying to catch an elevator than the Wolfman was running. Also, I realized that was not actually a Wolfman, but instead it was a short, stocky white guy with a lot of hair and a very bushy beard. I wanted him to keep on running, so I decided to yell every curse word I knew at him while exhorting him to continue on his way. But I was so overcome by adrenaline, those actual words did not come out. And instead, I screamed at the top of my lungs something similar to, Surely I sounded like a completely deranged person, and that might be why the Wolfman ran away. Or he could have been scared to face a man with a hanging dress bag. We'll never know for sure. After he disappeared from sight, I went to the other side of the Suburban to make sure that there wasn't anyone else in the car and that my wife was okay. 10-4 on both points. But like I said, we were in the middle of a transaction where anything could happen. For instance, the Wolfman could have been a diversionary tactic meant to draw our attention away from the henchman, who might at this very moment be trying to steal documents and information located in my townhouse. I set off every alarm I could find. I hit the panic button on the car, and then I did the same thing with the townhouse alarm. Horns were honking, sirens were blaring, and I went inside to see if there were any more Wolfmen. It doesn't take long to check out a 2-bedroom townhouse and ascertain the presence of Wolfmen. Fortunately, there were none, so I killed the house alarm and the Suburban alarm and went back outside. Incredibly, through all this commotion, not a single neighbor came outside to see what was happening. There weren't even any lights on in any of the windows. I couldn't believe everyone had slept through the screams from both the Wolfman and me, let alone all the racket that 2 alarm systems can make. But they had. Or had they? From out of the shadows came a young woman's voice. "Are you okay?" She was standing on the sidewalk of the condo development across the street. She said, "I called the police." I thanked her profusely for doing that and assured her that we seemed to be all right. A police officer came, but there was really nothing to report. So we taped a garbage bag over the missing window spot and still made that 6 a.m. flight. As I mentioned earlier, it was a simpler time. The Wolfman affair, as it came to be known, was a story often repeated. About a year later, I ran into a guy I had not seen in 10 years. I didn't even know he lived in Houston, but there he was at the bowling alley, and he had his girlfriend with him. Introductions were made, and in between frames, we caught up and told stories, and of course, the Wolfman affair was the topic of our conversation. Halfway through the story, my friend's girlfriend turned white as a sheet. "You're that guy!" she exclaimed. "What guy?" She said, "I'm the person who came out and checked on you and called the police." As I started to thank her, she cut me off and said, "You don't understand. Let me tell you why I was on the street that morning. I was sound asleep that night when suddenly I woke up fully alert. I knew there was trouble. My first thought was that my mother in California was in peril. Maybe an earthquake had hit Los Angeles. Immediately, I struck that thought from my mind. The trouble was closer. The trouble was here. I thought there was an intruder in my condo, so I took the baseball bat I kept next to my bed and slowly made my way downstairs. But all was okay. I was the only person in my condo, and I knew it. About the time I realized that I was safe, I heard a scream from across the street. I saw a hairy guy jump out of a Suburban with another guy standing there holding a hanging dress bag and screaming unintelligibly, "That was you!" It sure was. Amazed, I asked her, "So you're telling me that you woke up for no reason about 1 minute before we'd even walked outside and saw the whole thing? Something or someone got you out of bed so you'd be there to help me if I needed help with what hadn't even happened yet?" She said, "That's exactly what happened." I never saw her again. But almost 35 years later, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And I still think of her as an angel sent to watch over me.
Oh, what the fuck's up, nerds? You're gonna have to watch my tall ass fucking adjust this mic every fucking time. And you're gonna have to like it, and you're gonna learn to love it. I tell you what. So funny story. I mean, that was a pretty funny story. But funny story, Conner told me when he found out I was hosting, he told me specifically, please don't say anything that will embarrass me. And I was tempted to do something very silly and talk about, his butt and, pooping and stuff like that. How much he farts? He does fart a lot. If you know the guy, he does fart a lot. But, I didn't want to. I mean, it was pretty embarrassing the way he said Los Angeles in that little moment right there. And I mean, that wasn't like a voice. That was just like a weird affectation he put on in the middle of the story. Like, I don't know why he did that. But okay. Let's keep the laughs going with this next story called My Suicide Story. Spoiler alert. Hold on, before you clap. Spoiler alert, I didn't do it. Now it would be appropriate to clap. Yes. We don't want to applaud unaliving yourself, as the kids say. As the kids are forced to say because of the man and TikTok and the internet. Okay, we can't do that. No, let's not do that. This is My Suicide Story. Spoiler alert, I didn't do it. Written by Rivka French and read by Timely Ray.